What would you do if you discovered that the anonymous girl who posts daring photos on Twitter, the one you admire and follow, is actually your classmate? She's so close that the thought wouldn't even cross your mind. He was just a fan, a true simp, liking and commenting on all her photos, but by a twist of fate, he found out the truth, and all because of one simple detail: a birthmark on her butt. This story is inspired by something that happens frequently nowadays. It's not unusual to come across situations like this while casually scrolling through social media. Hakobe Narumi is a shy, introverted student without friends, but he's fascinated by a girl named Ife, who, interestingly, never shows her face in photos, always censoring it in some way. However, he ends up discovering that Ife is none other than his classmate, the smartest, most popular girl, known for not giving boys a chance. Her nickname? Iron Wall. If this secret were to get out, her life could be drastically affected. There are several reasons why people start creating this kind of content. For some, it's pure emotion, the thrill of causing reactions from the audience. This seems to be the case with EFA, as we'll see later on. For others, it's simply a way to make money. Of course, we shouldn't judge anyone for that. After all, it's a job like any other, and if there's a demand for it, there's not much more to say. Putting aside the moral aspect of the situation, this is certainly a dream job for many people. With that said, let's dive into the story of the boy with a poker face. Don't forget to like, support the channel by promoting a video, choose your anime or manga and send it to me. This way, you'll contribute greatly to keeping my work going here. The links are in the description. Hakobe Narumi, a 17-year-old high school student, is an introspective and reserved young man. He claims not to have made any friends so far due to a peculiar problem with his face. It's not a disability, but something simpler. Narumi is unable to express any facial emotions. His perpetually neutral expression drives people away who find him strange, leading to the nickname Stoney, a name he admits suits him perfectly. His recent satisfaction has been following a random girl on Twitter who frequently posts photos. He is her #1 follower, always leaving comments on her pictures. Narumi believes that while no one truly hates him, people prefer to keep their distance. The only person who treats him kindly is Mitsuha Koto, an intelligent and friendly girl. To Narumi's surprise, he discovers, by overhearing a conversation, that Koto shares the same interests as him: staying home, watching anime, and playing video games. It would be a dream for him to get to know her better, or to be a bit more like her in social terms and status. By accident, the two exchange glances during class, causing Narumi's heart to race, though. As usual, he fails to express any reaction. We are then taken to Narumi's childhood, where a traumatic event erased his facial expressions forever. It all happened one day when he was playing with a friend who was always kind to him and loved playing house. Even as a child, Narumi felt something special for her. One day, following his mother's advice, he tried to smile at his friend, but the result was disastrous, as the smile frightened her deeply. Since then, Narumi's life has never been the same. This trauma haunts him to this day. After class, he quickly checks his phone and sees that Effa, the girl he follows on Twitter, posted a new photo in a bikini, mentioning that she would love to see the sea as soon as possible. In the photo, Afa also comments about a star-shaped birthmark on her body, something Narumi had never noticed before. As he descends the stairs, Koto loses her balance and falls on Narumi. The awkward position they end up in allows Narumi to see the same star-shaped mark on Koto's body. Surprised, he mutters the name Effa aloud, leaving Koto equally surprised to hear it. Still on the same day, we now follow Mitsuha's routine. As soon as she wakes up, she takes one of the many selfies she usually posts on her social media accounts. Her life is truly a duality. On one hand, she is an exemplary student with high grades. On the other, she is an anonymous girl who posts selfies for a legion of fans. Mitsuha explains that at first she was just a fan who appreciated that kind of content, but soon decided to join the selfie community. The more she posted, the more followers and positive comments she received, both from female and male profiles. This constant validation made her feel good, almost addicted to the sense of suspense and recognition. Her #1 fan was Narumi, someone she always noticed for commenting and liking her posts. Mitsuha was very pleased with the results of the selfie she posted that morning. barely able to hide her happiness while on her phone during class. The nickname Iron Wall frequently came up in conversations with her friends, who teased her about whether she was dating or not. Although she insisted that she wasn't interested in love, the truth was that she still didn't fully understand what it was and preferred to spend her time as Effa, her online persona. After the accident on the stairs, Narumi was hit by Mitsuha with her bag for having seen more than he should have. He ended up in the infirmary, and Mitsuha followed him. Alone in the room since the nurse was in a meeting, Mitsuha was terrified at the possibility that Narumi had discovered her secret, and her anxiety only increased as time passed. Narumi, unconscious on the bed, murmured the name Effa. For Mitsuha, this confirmed that he knew everything. Mitsuha quickly woke Narumi up and started questioning him about what he knew. It took him a while to process everything that had happened that morning. Observing Mitsuha, he began to connect the dots. Her body was practically identical to Effa's, and the two marks in specific places, one on the collarbone and the other slightly below the back, confirmed his suspicions. Before any reaction could occur, the nurse returned to the room, forcing Mitsuha to drag Narumi under the bed. The two hid until the nurse was called to help another student with a sprained ankle. Mitsuha's reaction while being close to Narumi was unusual, and in the heat of the moment, she ended up taking another selfie. After leaving the room with a red face, Mitsuha posted another photo on her profile, a clear message for Narumi, who still hadn't fully recovered physically or psychologically from the incident that had just occurred. Narumi felt as if he were in a dream. The girl he admired so much studied in the same classroom as him, and now he had the chance to see her in action, taking a picture right in front of him. For a moment, he even imagined that the whole thing might have been staged by the popular students at school to mock him later. The next morning, Mitsuha acted as if nothing had happened. Before arriving at school, Narumi noticed that she continued with her usual routine of posting photos. The only one who couldn't hide his feelings was him. Later, Narumi went to a room to sew, an activity that usually relaxed him, but not even that seemed to work this time. It didn't take long for Mitsuha to burst through the door, breathless and irritated from searching for him all over the school. She wanted to talk about Effa and asked if he had revealed anything to anyone. Narumi promptly responded that he hadn't. Mitsuha explained that if anyone discovered her secret, she would be in big trouble. While speaking, her skirt got caught on the desk and tore. Desperate, Mitsuha didn't know how she would get home with her clothes damaged. Surprisingly, Narumi offered to help and began sewing the skirt. The situation was awkward, not only because of the position Narumi had to be in to do the repair, but also because of the situation itself. He wondered why she was so embarrassed, given that she could take much bolder photos. When Narumi asked her why she had started taking photos, Mitsuha abruptly cut him off, saying that it was none of his business. In the end, after all the embarrassment, she took a picture of him sewing her skirt. For someone who didn't know the context, the image could easily be misinterpreted. And that was exactly what Mitsuha planned to use as leverage if Narumi didn't keep his promise not to tell anyone what he knew. Mitsuha ended up convincing Narumi to create some clothing designs for Effa's photos. Even though she used the photo she took of him as a threat, Narumi didn't mind much, as he adored Effa. It wasn't hard to convince him. After class, Mitsuha dragged Narumi along to a place she wanted to visit. To him, the whole situation felt very much like a date. On the way, Mitsuha asked why he was so good at sewing, and Narumi revealed that he always enjoyed doing household chores and taking care of his little sister while his mother worked. Mitsuha asked if he was bothered by people calling him by his nickname, and Narumi replied that it didn't bother him much because he also found the nickname rather interesting. Mitsuha was pleased to finally hear Narumi talk a bit more about himself and encouraged him to open up more to others so they could get to know him better. They eventually arrived at the place Mitsuha wanted to visit, a store that sold somewhat suspicious clothing. She immediately went to the fitting room to try on various outfits, while Narumi was tasked with evaluating each one, and in his view, all of them were perfect. Finally, she pulled him into the fitting room and asked if he still wanted to know why she started posting photos. In the heat of the moment, she ended up taking another selfie and told him that if he helped her take the selfies, she would reveal something about Aoife. Mitsuha was very pleased with the result of the last selfie she had taken with her new work partner. The expression she had at that moment was something she had never seen before, and how fast her heart was beating surprised her even more. During her physical education class, some students forgot to put the balls away in the storage room, so the teacher asked Mitsuha to take care of it. While she was in the storage room, she decided to check her phone, still excited about the number of followers her last selfie had generated. Time passed, and a student, seeing the door open, ended up closing and locking it with Mitsuha inside. To her surprise, Mitsuha found Narumi hiding in a pile of clothes. Both of them were now locked inside the storage room. What seemed like the end of the world for Narumi turned into an opportunity for Mitsuha, who realized this was a special chance to take more photos. She then forced him to take more pictures of her. Mitsuha felt completely different when someone else took photos of her, but the same couldn't be said for Narumi, who squirmed to finish the task quickly. They took several photos until Mitsuha's friend managed to open the door. Narumi ran out without saying a word. While Mitsuha was explaining that Stoney was a good person and that nothing bad had happened, she began to feel different emotions when she thought about him. On another day, Mitsuha invited Narumi to a strategic meeting at her house to discuss increasing the activities on Aoife's profile. Since her parents wouldn't be home until later, there was no issue. Hakobe Narumi was so nervous that he ended up drinking all his tea in one gulp. From being a shy, introverted boy with no friends at school, to finding himself in the room of the most popular girl in his class, who usually kept boys at a distance, it was understandable for him to be nervous. What he didn't expect was that Mitsuha also became nervous when she realized it was the first time she had brought a boy into her room. The meeting began, and Narumi immediately asked if the selfies were a passion or just for attention. Mitsuha responded by sharing her story from childhood. She had been very shy and didn't have many friends. Whenever a camera was pointed at her, her face tensed up. Then, by chance, she came across the profile of a girl who posted selfies and was extremely popular. In Mitsuha's eyes, selfies had the power to show the most radiant side of people. Captivated by that idea, she wanted to be like the girl she so admired, and that's how Aoife came to be. After finishing her story, Mitsuha got straight to the point. The study session was about to begin, but to their surprise, her parents arrived home early and together. Narumi quickly hid in the wardrobe, where he found her photo album. Everything Mitsuha had said was confirmed when he saw her old photos. She looked like a completely different person, shy and demure. Finally, Narumi managed to slip out without being seen, while Mitsuha distracted her parents. Before leaving, he left a message, not for Aoife, but for Mitsuha. What a tricky situation, everyone. Even though we can see that she, fortunately, isn't producing NSFW content, it's still quite controversial, right? What happened to Narumi could happen to any of us. In his case, the girl never showed her face in the photos, which only made everything more mysterious. And the most curious part, she wasn't doing it for money. It was purely for validation. There's a moment when she even says that there was nothing more important to her than having guys looking at her. Of course, this doesn't mean she's a questionable person, but it certainly raises a lot of questions. Honestly, I'm not sure if he would still be in love with her after knowing all of this. And you? What would you do if you were in this lonely guy's shoes? Would you support her or stay far away? Leave your thoughts in the comments.